Do you need to set up your table? Well, no worries. This quick video will show you how to do just that. This is based on the machine being in the proper position and at the proper height. And those two things being at least close to where they should be. With the table height from the pin deck correct and the front to back level correct. Also, all the parts on the table need to be in good condition and tight before you do any of these adjustments. Before doing any of the adjustments to the table, you need to make sure that the parts on the table are good. Namely, that all the bolts are tight, that the tie-link pins and bushings are good, all the connecting arms are clamped tight on the shafts, all the cups are in good condition, and that the cup gaps are correct. The gap between the inside of these 2 points on a spotting cup should be no less than 4 1/8 of an inch. You can use my favorite gauge, the 5/16 gauge, to check that. This gauge should easily fit in here, and if you look really close, you can see that it's just a little bit wider. I intentionally set my cups like that. It makes it a little easier to set up spotting. But the point being is that all the cups should be adjusted the same, and the gaps should be at least very close to this. This will affect when you go to set up the table. Another thing is make sure all the collars are in position and tight where they're supposed to be. And if your table has 3 yoke springs, some of the older ones only have 2, the initial setting for the tension on the yoke springs is with the cups horizontal like this. The screw, the face of the screw, should almost be pointing straight at the pin deck, maybe slightly less than that. Make sure all 3 of these are set the same. This will affect how smoothly the cups will tilt during spotting. Once you have that out of the way, now you can actually get into the adjustments of the table for spotting. Okay, this time I'm going to show you this on lane number 1, but like last time I need to point out, once again, my machines are locked out. Here's lane 2, and here's lane 1. Before doing the actual table adjustments, and assuming everything else is good, you need to set the table height. The table height should be between 1/4 of an inch minimum, so it doesn't touch the deck, and 3/8 of an inch maximum, so it's low enough to let go of the pins. The ideal height is 5/16 of an inch from the pin deck. So crank the table in spotting to bottom dead center, which is when these 3 points are in line. The center of the table shaft, the stud on the table drive eccentric, and the bolt in the torque tube are all in a straight line. That's as far down as the table is going to go. Adjust the clevis to raise or lower the table. Half a turn of the clevis will move the table about 1/8 of an inch. I actually think it's a little bit more than that, but that kind of gives you an idea of how much the table's going to move. Unscrew it to lower the table, screw it in to raise the table. The first thing you're going to do is crank the table forward into spotting so that the table is loaded with pins as if it was going to actually spot pins. And to do that, you need to hold the spot solenoid in while you crank the table forward. Make sure you hold it in until the table is down far enough that the spot lever is locked onto the latch. If you don't, then the cups won't tilt. So crank the table down until you get 6 inches from the pin deck. I already have my combination square set at 6 inches. So here we go. The bottom of the table is 6 inches from the pin deck. The first adjustment you're going to do is you're going to set the toe. That means that sets basically how far forward the pin cups tilt during spotting. What does toe mean exactly? Well, think of your foot. If you were to place your foot on the ground, toe first and then heel, that's exactly how this machine is designed to spot pins. Toe first and then heel, except it does it very quickly. So the pin is placed on the deck, toe first and then heel. Okay? This adjustment will set that. So you come over here to the 7th side of the table. You find this collar. I've already done this, but you loosen this and slide it away from the yoke leg. Then you take your combination square. You find the bolt in the bottom of the yoke leg. You take the combination square, set the bottom on the shoulder part of the bolt and the top on the shaft of the yoke. When you do that, you should get half a bubble. And as you can see here, this one is actually a little bit more, my light keeps doing that, a little bit more back than where it would be. And that was done intentionally because this machine is actually lower than it should be. That's okay. That just means that you have a little bit more toe than you normally would. It doesn't matter how much toe that you have, as long as it's not too much. Too much and the pins can actually fall forward out of the cups during spotting. But a little tiny bit is okay. So whatever your bubble reads on this side, ideally it would be half a bubble. If it's not, you need to adjust the yoke leg so you get that. And to do that, you go to the stop bolt down here. And like on this one, if I was going to adjust it, and I'm not going to because this table is already set up perfectly, I would need to move the yoke back. So I'd make this bolt longer until I got a half bubble read, or wherever you want to set that. Once you're happy with the bubble, now there's also a way to do it with the bubble at dead level, but I'm not going to do that one. But once you're happy with that, lock this down and make sure that you put this collar back. In fact, as soon as I finish shooting this, I'm going to do that. In fact, you know what? I'm going to do that right now because a few times I actually forgot to do this and I had to go back and tighten these after the fact. So you should probably do this right now. So tighten it down so it's snug against the yoke leg. And now the toe is set on this side, but you need to also check and make sure that the yoke is square with the table. Now there's different ways to do this, and this assumes, of course, that the table is positioned correctly. We're just going to assume that because it actually is. But to check and make sure your yoke is square so that it pulls back the same, and what that means is that one side is not pulling back before the other side, essentially, is whatever the bubble is set at on this side, you're going to do the same thing on this side, and you do it the same way. Slide the collar away, put the combination square on the shoulder of the pin down here and on the shaft, and you should get the same bubble reading. If you don't, that means the yoke is off. So then you just go to the yoke here, loosen the collars on both sides, and gently slide the yoke until this bubble reads exactly the same as the other side. When it does, that means the yoke is pretty much squared with the table. And make sure when you're done with that, you lock all the collars down. Once you get that done, that means the toe is set and you can move to the next step.